Hello, and welcome back to Slaughter Talk, Episode 2. If you're tuning into the show for the first time, thank you for joining. My name is Wilfred, and I'll be the host of the show. Let's jump into where we left off at the end of Episode 1 with the final 15 minutes of the England-Netherlands semifinal matchup. The match did not get much better for Netherlands in terms of possession, play style, and impact Jacopo or Virgil were able to contribute to the match. Virgil did have one opportunity to be the hero of the match when a cross fell to his feet, but he was not able to get enough on the shot as it fell comfortably into Pickford's hands. Later, Ollie Watkins comes into the match, takes a great first touch to turn his defender, gets a shot off through the defender's legs, past the goalkeeper to give England the goal in a 2-1 win. Heartbreaking way for Netherlands to get bounced from the Euro tournament. Had the lead, PK called against them, minimal contact on Kane with possible Saka handball in the build-up of it, then to allow an absolutely great goal by Ollie Watkins from an unreal angle. After getting bounced by England, Gravenberch recorded a total of 0 minutes for Netherlands. Joe Gomez was another Liverpool player who totaled 0 minutes for England, and then Trent ended as an unused sub in the finals as well, totaling just 134 minutes at the Euro competition. Shifting over to the first Copa America semifinal matchup between Colombia and Uruguay. Starting out with Luis Diaz in Colombia, as they were able to hold off Uruguay in a 1-0 win while playing the entire second half with a man down. Diaz was outstanding during the match. He was very vital in taking on defenders, successful dribbles, and getting the ball into opposition territory to alleviate small windows of pressure from Uruguay, who were pinning them back, knocking on the door of the goal. Diaz truly gave everything he had in the win for Colombia while posting a 4.6 out of 5 match rating. Darwin Núñez, however, did not have much of an impact on the match while facing a 10-man Colombia. Darwin played the entire match and did not threaten the defense like you hope your number 9 would in a semifinal matchup. Sadly though, I think we need to continue to focus on Darwin, but not what he did on the match, but after the match. At first, there was a nice moment between Diaz and Darwin where they were embracing one another. It was one of those moments as a Liverpool fan that you could see they truly felt for one another in how the game transpired. But not even a few minutes later, Darwin was seen in the stands amongst the crowd throwing punches and trying to fight multiple supporters who appeared to be in Colombian apparel. The scenes during the match showed a sea of yellow, indicating that the fans were mostly in support of Colombia. After the match had concluded, it has been reported that drunk Colombian fans had avalanched the families of the Uruguayan players. This is where the fiasco started. Growing up in the Midwest of the United States and watching the NBA, the scenes that began to transpire in the stands with Darwin gave me flashbacks of when Ron Artest and the Indiana Pacers started fighting the fans at the well-known Malice at the Palace, Detroit Pistons. Darwin was seen leading the charge in the fight against the fans, throwing punches, receiving punches, squaring up other Colombian fans while holding the jersey swap of one of the Colombian players. After several minutes, they were finally able to get Darwin and his Uruguayan teammates out of the stands and back onto the pitch. Just as you thought everything started dying down, Darwin was spotted on camera sprinting back toward the stands with folding chairs and attempting to throw them at the Colombian supporters before it was deflected by security. Darwin, in his role in this fiasco, has caused some Liverpool supporters to be split on his actions during this event. As a husband and a father, if my family was in the situation that these Uruguayan families were in, I am not sure exactly how I would respond or react. I would like to think my first objective would be to keep your family as safe as possible. In doing so, that would be help them securing safety out of the stands and the other families who were in danger as well. The next thing that I think should have been done would be Darwin using his stature as a player to try and keep some peace within the stands, or maybe even trying to unite with Luis Diaz to help calm down their own supporters. Obviously, this is easier said than done, coming from someone who was not involved in the fiasco or their family was not involved in the fiasco and looking back on this days later, but I am still on the fence on whether Darwin handled this in the best way possible. Just looking at the reality of what happened, I think Darwin is going to face some serious consequences. If Jude Bellingham was able to get a match ban for a gesture and the Turkish player got a 2-match ban for a hand gesture, I don't see Darwin getting away with anything similar in terms of what the discipline will be. Another thing will be if his discipline will spill over to the club level, but I don't think anyone can argue if it did. Darwin ultimately assaulted fans in the stands. Some argued it was him defending his family, etc. That is correct, but you cannot take away from what actually has happened, as well as the fact that he was removed from the situation and then came back with full vengeance, trying to throw chairs at the supporters. As mentioned in the first episode, Darwin has a fantastic work rate, gets into great positions to score and create chances, but given the headbutt Darwin did to Anderson during his second match in a Liverpool kit, publicly showing no emotions towards Klopp and his guard of honor send-off in the final team talk that was videoed in the locker room, and now this, what you might call an outburst. Darwin definitely scares me in terms of being on the pitch in the 11. He seems a bit unhinged, and if players were not trying to get under his skin before, I think Darwin is definitely going to be targeted more often than not to try and get into his head and cause him to do something stupid. From conversations with my internal soccer group, which some did not agree with, my opinion would be best for Liverpool to move on from Darwin. I think the risk-reward of having Darwin needs to be considered. Being away at Copas for his country, I would assume that he has not been focusing on his English to break down the barriers of playing in England and with his club teammates. Darwin clearly looks more comfortable playing with the people he can communicate with at country, also while playing in Portugal. So I think you need to get what you can for him because I know his value is there and someone will be interested, but this is a new era for Liverpool and I think a good time to start clean. A slot has never had to try and fit him into the team. On to the Copa America final between Argentina and Colombia. Colombia looked like the better team in the first half. The second half seemed a bit even, but extra time Argentina were able to get the game-winning goal. Diaz had another proper shift. He caused some havoc on the left, but ultimately was unable to change the outcome of the match. He was subbed off during extra time, but absolutely worked his butt off, and should now be enjoying a well-deserved holiday before returning back to camp for preseason. Mac Allister was able to pick up his third trophy with Argentina while playing almost the entire match before also being subbed off during extra time. Macca was involved in a header that hit the arm of a Colombian defender that could have been resulted in a PK opportunity, but it was dismissed by VAR. Sunday night definitely was not one of Macca's best performances. He looked a bit leggy and was late on some tackles, but with all that being said, according to WhoScored.com, Mac Allister won possession more times than any other midfielder with 34 in the Copa Americas. This shows that his work rate and how vital he can be for Liverpool when playing higher up the pitch. Looking on to the US preseason tour, Liverpool will be heading back to the States for the first time since 2019 preseason, where they made stops at Notre Dame University in South Bend, where I got to see them play. Liverpool also visited Yankee Stadium in New York and Fenway Park in Boston. This season, they will be opening up against Real Betis in Pittsburgh, where the Steelers call home. The next stop of the tour will be at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia against Arsenal, and they will finish their tour at Bryce Stadium, home of the South Carolina Gamecocks, against Manchester United. I like the opponents Liverpool have on the schedule for the preseason tour. Opening up against Real Betis, I think that's a good opportunity for players who have been in camp from day one under Slot to get their feet wet. I would imagine the matchup against Arsenal will also include a lot of players who are getting their first action with Slot, as this could include a lot of players who are returning from their international duties. The Manchester United matchup should be more of a get ready for the season in terms of conditioning minutes for the players and the tactics you might see. One thing that I really like that Manchester United has started doing this preseason is they are facing a team in the Norwegian League who is in the middle of their season. The reason I really like this approach by Manchester United is that they are facing a team that is in the full swing of things and should have all their tactics refined and be playing with some chemistry. Starting out, you don't know what you have, so facing a team who is in the same point as you does not give you a realistic look at how your team squares off against other opponents. I am sad to say that I will be more than likely unable to make a trip out to see Liverpool this preseason, as my brother is getting married during the middle of this tour and other travel obligations that come along with this wedding. If my family and I were not going to Anfield this upcoming season, I may have tried to sneak away overnight to catch one of the matches. The next topic of today's show will be to discuss the schedule release. I do not plan to go week by week, but I do want to take a look at the opening match, touch on the first five, the festive fixture list for Liverpool, and the run into the end. First up, Liverpool have Ipswich Town. The first match of the season against a newly promoted team, especially on the road, always seems like a trap game to me. The first match after being promoted, a ton of excitement surrounding the team. They have all the support of their fans in the stadium, which always creates a rocking atmosphere. What do they have to lose other than to go out, give it a proper go against one of the top sides, and hope for a result? The Ipswich Town manager, Kieran McKenna, was heavily linked with a few positions at top clubs this offseason, but returns as manager. I think this, along with the first promotion to the Premier League in many years, playing at home in the first match of Liverpool under Slot will make this a very nervy watch for supporters. The next four include home against Brentford, away at Manchester United, home against Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth. While there are many question marks surrounding how Liverpool performed this season, especially with Slot, I would like to think that Liverpool have the opportunity to come away with 11 out of 15 points. I don't think Liverpool will win against Manchester United this early in the season, but I do think they are able to squeak out a draw given Slot and Ten Hag have a history in the Dutch League. So for Liverpool to get 11 points in their first 5, I think they will win 3 and draw 2. Looking ahead to the festive fixture list, Liverpool start at Tottenham, a Boxing Day home match against Leicester, at West Ham, and home versus Manchester United. Boxing Day matchup against Leicester is a familiar one as this is their third matchup in recent years. A trip to West Ham is never easy, but it will also be interesting to see how they play with their new manager, as well as what the club will look like, as they are linked with several players who could depart. Wrapping up the festive fixture list, home matchup against Manchester United, who will be coming off a tough match against Newcastle. Manchester United always seem to find an extra gear while playing Liverpool, so I expect nothing less from this one. From the 4 matches discussed during the festive fixtures, at this stage of the season, I would be happy if Liverpool got 8 out of 12, as I think Tottenham and United could easily be drop points. Finally, the tough run-in. Home to Tottenham, at Chelsea, home versus Arsenal, at Brighton, home versus Crystal Palace. All 5 clubs have shown some great promise last season. Tottenham are in their second year under Big Ange. Chelsea showed massive improvement to end the season, but they are again with a new manager. Arsenal are coming off their best season ever. Brighton and Palace are also teams who can be unbeatable when things are clicking. Brighton stumbled a bit last season and lost to Zerbi, while Palace have lost Olise in the transfer market. The thing I personally have to say to the supporters with Slot is the same thing I want to say about the supporters with Liverpool's lack of transfer activity. To quote Aaron Rodgers, RELAX, relax. There is a very good chance Liverpool could stumble out the blocks to start the season, and you have to expect they will. We are entering the first season under Slot after several years of Jurgen Klopp. Many players are not even at camp, nor will they be for a few weeks as they're just finishing up their international duties. And the transfer activity topic is the same. Relax. No clubs are out there flying in the transfer market because of all the competitions, nor do Liverpool ever really get heavily involved. The new football ops team needs time to understand the squad, who they have, and to see how these players are fitting in to Slot in his game plan. And not to mention Liverpool's heavy hitters are just finishing up their international duties or on their deserved holidays, so trust the process, give it time, relax, and enjoy. The window is still open for a month and a half, and the season begins in a month, so we've got time. Alright everybody, I think that will do it for episode 2 of Slaughter Talk. The agenda for next week's episode will be to discuss some of the inside training videos and what we're seeing, touch on the players who have returned from international duty, take a look at FSG and their new football structure, and touch on the staff that Arne Slot will have with him for the season. Again, I appreciate you taking your time to tune into my podcast. I am Wilfred, and that's all I have for you this week. Stay safe, take care, and remember, up the Reds.